Takže jsme u zámku Neuschwanstein a jdeme se podívat dovnitř. Tak jsme ve vstupní hale, tady vidíme sekuriťáka.
I don't think the guards want to be bothered while on duty.
Můžeme si prohlídnout zdejší malby.
These scenes seem to tell a story, but I have no idea what story.
Tady máme takovou položku přehrát kazetu, to je jako průvodce, takže na to můžeme kliknout.
Our tour begins in the entry hall. Ludwig II lived from 1845 to 1886. He assumed the Bavarian throne at the age of 18 when his father died. Ludwig's passion was building castles. He built 3 during his lifetime: Linderhof, Herrenchiemsee, and Neuschwanstein. Plans for a 4th castle, Falkenstein, were underway when he died. In addition to his obsession with building, Ludwig also had a passion for classical heroic German mythology, a taste he shared with the German opera composer Richard Wagner. Neuschwanstein is decorated throughout with themes from these stories, most of which directly relate to Wagner's operas.
Takže jsme se dozvěděli, že Neuschwanstein nechal postavit Ludvík II. v 19. století a že Ludvíkova vášeň byla pro vystavení zámku i operní díla od Richarda Wagnera a že spoustu zdejších obrazů a výjevů je právě z jeho oper. Takže co nám řekne tady téma o malbě?
The paintings in this room are from the Siegfried saga. The paintings in this room are from the Siegfried saga.
These scenes are from the Siegfried saga.
Tak, my se budeme podívat do další místnosti. Tak, co nám řekne tady kazeta?
You are now standing in the king's bedroom. The theme of the bedroom is Tristan and Isolde, the tragic love story retold in Wagner's opera. The opera was given its first performance in Munich in 1865, and a 20-year-old Ludwig attended. This is probably the most elaborate and expensive bedroom ever created. It took 14 wood carvers 4.5 years to create this room. It was this kind of extravagance that bankrupted the king. In the years before his death, he found it increasingly difficult to find money from any source.
Takže tady to je královská ložnice Ludvíka II. A tady jsou výjevy z Wagnerovy opery Tristan a Isolda. Sekuriťák nám odchází a my se podíváme, sekuriťačka přichází a my se podíváme na obrazy, nebo spíš na ty výjevy na zdi.
Scenes from the opera Tristan and Isolde. Scenes from the opera Tristan and Isolde.
Did they have running water in 1886?
The richly carved bed, with its canopy, resembles a Gothic building and its turrets. The bed's draperies were handmade by dozens of Bavarian seamstresses.
Maybe Ludwig thought all this luxury would help him sleep.
Tak pojďme se podívat do další místnosti. Doufám, že se staví do správných dveří. Ano. Teďka jsme v obývacím pokoji. Znovu jsou tady nějaký výjevy.
This is the king's living room. The walls are decorated with scenes from the Lohengrin saga. The king first saw Wagner's opera Lohengrin when he was 16, and it so affected him that he considered it a form of enlightenment. The tragedy of Lohengrin was his essential loneliness. This too was Ludwig's own fate. Ludwig withdrew more and more into his fantasy world of epic heroes and absolute monarchy. An ideal he was determined to create in his castles if he could not have it in his real life. He only wanted to be alone with his dreams, so much so that even his servants were kept at a distance and were not allowed to look at him.
What were you afraid they'd see?
Že Ludvík II. Měl nějaký svoje vnitřní stíny. To je dobrý vědět.
The miracle of the Grail.
Tak musíme jít ještě dál. Jo, tady už jsme byli. Tady už se dál jít nedá.
More swans.
The swan motif is featured throughout the castle, but it is particularly prominent in this room. Both the swan and the lily were symbols Ludwig associated with himself. They represented his ideals of majesty and purity. The painting behind the swan shows Lohengrin's arrival.
Čelo buď symbolizuje majestátnost a čistotu.
More swans.
A je další výjevy z jeho opery. Z Wagnerovy opery. Takže jsme kde?
This is a reproduction of the grotto from the Tannhäuser saga. In such places, Ludwig could pretend he was one of his beloved mythic heroes. As the grotto personifies, the castles were solitary playgrounds built for Ludwig alone. He believed the masses were too coarse to appreciate fine art, and he seldom entertained guests. In fact, Ludwig had a standing order that upon his death, the castles were to be destroyed. Fortunately, the estate was in such debt that the castles were opened for paying tours only weeks after Ludwig's death. They haven't closed since. It is one of the great ironies of Ludwig's story that the castles that he was thought insane for building are now considered Bavaria's finest treasures. They have paid for their construction many times over.
I can almost picture Ludwig in here. I wonder what he really dreamt about in this.
This is the king's study. Ludwig spent much time at his desk, writing letters, drawing up plans for his projects, and studying his favorite authors. He loved poetry, history, and the classics. In later years, he also studied the occult. What affairs of state he did reluctantly attend to were generally attended to alone at his desk in writing. His reluctance to meet with his heads of state and perform the duties of the king were one of the reasons for the charges brought against him in 1886. But Ludwig dreamt of true kingship and a true monarchy, and the small powers left to him after Bavaria succeeded power to Prussia only incited his disdain and frustration.
Takže Ludvík II. Se postupně obracel k okultismu a neměl moc rád takový ty královské povinnosti.
I wonder why he was studying the occult before he died. I wonder why he...
The study paintings depict scenes from the Tannhäuser saga and the Wartburg castle. The study paintings depict scenes from the Tannhäuser saga.
Samý.
The study paintings This is the final room of our tour, the Singers' Hall. It was modeled after the Singers' Hall of the Wartburg Castle, where minstrel competitions were held in the 13th century. The hall was built for small private concerts, but Ludwig himself never gave one here. It is said that during the last few years of Wagner's life, he came to Neuschwanstein frequently and performed for the king alone in this room. The hall is probably best known for its enigmatic wolf paintings. The original paintings were from the Parsifal saga, but in 1882, Ludwig had them replaced, supplying the description and titles of the new paintings himself. While all the other rooms in the castle show scenes from Wagner's operas, the scenes in this room are not from any opera that anyone can identify. It is yet another of the many mysteries associated with the life of the fairy tale king.
Scény z té jisté místnosti nejsou z žádné známé opery. Ale vlk.
Why would Ludwig have wolf paintings in his castle?
Protože se setkal s vlkodlakem, to je jasný.
Engelhard courts Hildegunde. Engelhard and the blacksmith. The hunters track down Engelhard and Hildegunde. Hildegunde's imprisonment.
Vlk.
The wedding feast of Hildegunde and the Baron.
Zase vlk.
The death of Engelhard.
Proč má všude ty vlky? Tady ještě výhled na Alpy.
Nice view of the Alps.
Ludwig's childhood castle, Neuschwanstein, is visible from the lookout in the Singers' Hall.
Nice view of the Alps.
Dobře, tak jo, takže to jsme viděli Neuschwanstein a můžeme jít. Teď se nám podaří odejít. Tak jo, tak to byla návštěva Neuschwansteinu. A další návštěvu dalších míst si dáme zase příště. Teď bychom se měli podívat kam. Teď bychom se měli podívat do to je vlastně muzeum, který je věnovaný Ludvíkovi II. Ale to si dáme zase příště. Takže muzeum 2021.